In Ecuador, presidential candidates Luisa Gonzalez and Daniel Noboa will face each other on April 13th in a runoff election to decide the next president. Iranian citizens celebrate the 46th anniversary of the Islamic Revolution by urging to strengthen resistance and not to surrender to the United States. And in the United States, President Donald Trump announced the imposition of 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum imports. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Ecuador, citizens went Sunday to the polls in the first round of the general elections. With over 92% of the votes counted, candidates Luisa Gonzalez and Daniel Noboa go to a runoff next April 13th. We go live with our special envoy in the country, Jorge Gestoso, for the latest. Welcome, Jorge, to From the South.
Luis, it has been technically a tie between the two main candidates in the first round of the elections here in Ecuador. 44% practically each of the two candidates, the president candidate Daniel Noboa and the challenger Luisa Gonzalez from the Correísmo, only half a percentage point, 0.5%, a little bit even less than 0.5% separates Noboa and Luisa Gonzalez. It's going to be, as you said, a runoff on the 13th of April. It's about 2 months away. Another thing that is very interesting is that now it has been clear that the results, last night's results, has been interpreted as a victory in terms of Luisa Gonzalez, and in between lines we clearly understand that has been a real defeat for the president candidate Daniel Noboa. Why so? Because President Noboa was already, before the closing of the polls, organizing a statement in a hotel, inviting all his followers to join him, and he was going to be giving a speech. Suddenly, that event has been canceled. He didn't talk at all. He didn't make any press conference, any statement, anything at all. He disappeared, while, on the other hand, the candidate of the opposition, in this case, Luisa Gonzalez, was talking to the press, was giving a press conference, was mentioning that for her it was a clear victory. Another results from last night's election, the third place was Leonidas Issa, is a candidate of the indigenous movement. The party is Pachacutic. He obtained the 5.6% of the votes. The fourth place was Andrea Gonzalez with 2.6% of the votes, and 12 out of the 16 candidates that were participating not even reached 1% of the votes. So now Leonidas Issa and Andrea Gonzalez are going to be courted by the two candidates in order to try to make a sort of agreements or alliances in order to reach the 50% plus one vote. It was also denunciations that done by the former president Rafael Correa, that in reality the National Council of Voting, the official organization NCE, the Council of the Electoral Vote, the national one, Correa is denouncing that is not a completely independent judge in this event. It not was participating in favor of Noboa, so much so that he, in his account in the former Twitter, he mentioned that there are still 6% of the votes that are being questionable that has to be addressed, and he believes that that percentage will put the the challenger we're talking about, Luisa Gonzalez, in the first place going to the runoff. And in that case, we'll put her as the official winner, something that, according to Correa, all the elements that are playing in favor of Daniel Noboa doesn't want to happen. So very interesting. Again, for the challenger, Luisa Gonzalez, last night she got a fantastic victory. For the president and candidate Daniel Noboa, independently, analysts and pundits believe that was a big defeat. We go back to you, Luis.
Thank you, Jorge, for the latest details a day after the polls closed and this Sunday's general elections, where millions of Ecuadorians went to exercise their right to vote. We're going to stay in touch in our coming news brief to continue having all the details that develop during this Monday. Let's continue with the analysis. A day after Sunday's general elections in Ecuador. To that end, we are joined by Maria Fernanda Andrade from Acción Jurídica Popular of Ecuador. Welcome, Maria, to From the South.
Thank you for having me. Nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure, Maria. Nice to meet you too. How can we analyze Sunday's results? Were there any surprises, any in vote behavior, turnout, or regional breakdowns?
Well, we have been living in Ecuador on a rough political and social environment that takes shape in an electoral process with many news, such as deaths, threats to candidates, raids on their homes, soldiers removing campaign posters of Luisa Gonzalez, police officers surrounding candidates. All of these situations are unprecedented in our country. We have a president of Consejo Nacional Electoral, National Electoral Council, who has remained during 3 governments. All this is integrating a national context of general violence. We have the highest rates of extreme poverty, unemployment, forced migration. So we are having these new experiences here in Ecuador, and all this electoral process has been very irregular. We have,
in your opinion, what
president.
issues, Maria, sorry. In your opinion, what issues, economy, security, institutional trust, things like that, have dominated voters' priority, and how did they impact the outcome?
Yeah. We have to say that the President of the Republic has not obeyed the Constitution, but not retired from his duties as president. There has been an unequal investment of campaign funds. According to a legal demand, Noboa has campaigned and used state funds. It means budget from Ecuadorians. We have to say that the electoral trends of young people in the world in general is a very important phenomenon to take into account. They are the ones who fuel the processes of these raises of fascism. As to the 50% who are voting for the conservative wing, it is necessary to name that choice, and that is called in Ecuador, military and a fascist preference. We are having the worst statistics as poverty and unemployment of our whole history. But some people who voted for ADN, the president's party, read this as a result of Correa's administration, some of them. This segment of people is preferring to accept the worst violence on the streets that than a supposed dictatorship of Correa. In the year 2024, there were 7,000 deaths only, and only in January of this year, there were almost 800 violent deaths. So we think they are switching the dictatorship from one who improved health and poverty to one who sells a speech of liberty and richness, that all we know that comes from human exploitation and natural resources. We are having a polarized society, I think, which is the reflect of how the modern world is divided by a neoliberalist illusion in where fascism is taking place in terms of offering security and stability with authoritarianism, but not real peace, education, and community life. I think now we have a work to do. I think the union of left-wing parties is necessary, as well as the social organization.
As Ecuador goes to April's runoff elections, Maria, what do you believe both candidates will do different or not from the first round campaigns?
I think this time there's a bridge between the progressive wing and the social movement, and that bridge is Leonidas Issa, representative of Pachacutic, who is third in the list of candidates. The social movement this time, as in 2019 and 2022, will take advantage of the prominence of the indigenous movement and Issa for the unity of the left. I think this time is the moment of the left wing to get together and to work to be near to the social needs. That's the important thing. I think it's essential for Luisa Gonzalez to work into capacitations and educations in terms of what is happening really with our real situation, with our rights. And it's important to know that capitalism is the cause for all our society destruction. We are having a narco state now, and we have to think deeply about it. I think from on the other hand, on the other side, maybe Noboa is going to take advantage of the domination into the media, into social media, to captivate the young voters. And I think the speech of security, of liberty is going to win, to take place in general in minds, in people's minds.
As you were referring to other candidates like Leonidas Issa, there were 16 people in total running for this race. How will the 14 others, including Leonidas Issa, impact the runoff? Could their endorsements sway the election?
He has 4 to 6% so far. So we think that this is an important part of people, this important segment of people, progressist people, and people like for the of the left side. So it's important their votes. I think those voters came from the from this idea of the renaissance of the left side of the left wing. So it will be important, above all, that the real leaders, Luisa Gonzalez and Anissa, can get together, can reunite, and work together for their programs, so that we can, as people, as Ecuadorians, can receive, can accept one real left program. I consider it's not too much people. It's 4%, 6% for ISA, but it's very important that all the left parties got to get together. No?
Thank you, Maria, for your time here from the South, for sharing your insights and inputs with us and our audience.
Good to see you.
It's a pleasure to have you, Maria. Let's now take a short break. But first, remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
¿Qué ha pesado más? Cortes de energía eléctrica. 12 horas.
Welcome back. North of West Bank, Israeli occupation forces have intensified their operations in Nur Shams refugee camp east of Tulkarem, setting up a tight blockade and conducting raids and home searches. This military incursion, which has led to increased tensions in the region, has forced the evacuation of residents and their homes being transformed into military posts. Israeli troops have used live ammunition against civilians. 2 women, one of them pregnant, are reported dead, and several people have been wounded, many of them youngsters. Israeli troops have also damaged infrastructure, homes, and essential services such as the water supply, further aggravating the humanitarian situation in the camp. Meanwhile, in the United States, President Donald Trump reiterated his controversial proposal to take control over the Gaza Strip. Several voices reject the violation of Palestinian sovereignty and ethnic cleansing plans. The U.S. President said that Gaza should be considered a great real estate site and that other Middle Eastern countries could take charge of rebuilding the war-torn enclave. He also described the war-torn territory as a place of demolition, assuring that his administration will be committed to owning it to prevent actions by Hamas. Trump also claimed that displaced Palestinians prefer not to return to Gaza, sparking outrage from much of the international community.
Committed to buying and owning Gaza. As far as us rebuilding it, we may give it to other states in the Middle East to build sections of it. Other people may do it through our auspices, but we're committed to owning it, taking it, and making sure that Hamas doesn't move back. There's nothing to move back into. The place is a demolition site. It'll be, the remainder will be demolished. Everything's demolished. I mean, you can't live in those buildings right now. They're very unsafe.
And in the face of the controversial statements made by U.S. President Donald Trump, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan expressed his rejection of the White House's proposals.
Unfortunately, we see that the Israeli administration has more insidious and inhumane plans in mind instead of making the ceasefire permanent. First of all, I would like to say this clearly. The proposals put forward by the new American administration regarding Gaza under the pressure of the Zionist lobby are not worth our attention or discussion.
Erdogan also expressed his rejection of any attempt to force Palestinians from their ancestral lands.
No one has the power to displace the people of Gaza from their eternal homeland that has been around for thousands of years. Palestine, including Gaza, the West Bank and East Jerusalem, belongs to the Palestinians. The people of Gaza, who have not left their lands despite all the cruelty, savagery, and attacks of Israel, will continue to stay in Gaza, live in Gaza, and protect Gaza.
In Iran, citizens celebrate the 46th anniversary of the Islamic Revolution in that country with the emblematic March of the 22nd of Bahman. The demonstration began in several cities of the country at 9 a.m. and local time. The presence of political and military authorities and foreign guests was expected. On the evening of February 9th, Iranians gathered in Azadi Square, where a fireworks ceremony was held to commemorate the beginning of the week of the national holiday. Every February 11th, the Iranian people reaffirmed their loyalty to the ideals of the Islamic Revolution, and numerous mass demonstrations expressing their unity and commitment to the defense and sovereignty of the nation. And the Iranian government reaffirmed its steadfast position by granting not to give in view of the U.S. threats and pressure. At Azadi Square, Tehran, the Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian addressed Monday his people, raising them awareness of Washington's intentions following debates on possible negotiations. Their attendees were carrying banners in rejection of both the United States and Israel. Likewise, Pezeshkian ensured that they won't be undermined by President Trump's threats, who is trying to bring the Islamic Revolution to its knee. In addition, the head of state condemned the fact that Trump is pursuing once again his policy of maximum pressure by means of new sanctions, this time against the Iranian oil sector. We now have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Fun short break, don't go away. Welcome back. In the United States, President Donald Trump announced the imposition of 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum imports starting this Monday, February 10th. President Trump added that he will announce Tuesday or Wednesday the so-called reciprocal tariffs, which means that the United States will impose import tariffs on products in cases where another country has imposed tariffs on U.S. goods. The U.S. president had already imposed tariffs of 15% on steel and 10% on aluminum during his first term, although he later granted duty-free quotas to allied countries and blocs, including Canada, Mexico, and Brazil. According to experts, the measures announced by Trump threaten to unleash trade wars with the entire world. Romanian President Klaus Iohannis announced his resignation amid pressures on him to leave office after a court last year canceled the country's presidential election.
In order to spare Romania and the Romanian citizens from this crisis, from this useless and negative development, I resign from the office of President of Romania. I will leave office the day after tomorrow, February 12th. God bless Romania.
And Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia on Saturday disconnected the electrical systems from the grid linking them to Russia 30 years after the disintegration of the Soviet Union. The Baltic countries' electricity systems operated autonomously on Saturday to then be connected to the common European grid through Poland. This Sunday, Lithuanian President Gitanas Nausėda said goodbye Russia, goodbye Lenin in front of EU President Ursula von der Leyen and the presidents of Latvia, Estonia and Poland. Experts say that the consequences of this step lead to uncertainty as Europe invests in renewable energy such as wind power. Also stated that the supply may be intermittent and may increase or decrease spending on the weather. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.